Welcome to this deep dive. And today we're going to be looking at some effective counseling skills.
Yeah.
Specifically, how can we apply these in a pastoral care setting in like a local church?
Right.
By the end, you're going to have some good tools and techniques that you can use immediately.
Absolutely. And we're going to be drawing on the insights of Gerard Egan
Okay.
and his skilled helper approach, which has been a cornerstone of training for decades.
Okay, so can you give us just a little bit of background on this approach?
Yeah. So Egan's model basically emphasizes that helping is a skill. It can be learned and developed.
Okay.
So it's not just about having good intentions. It's about having a structured approach
Yeah.
to guide your interactions. And what's really cool about it is that he breaks down the whole helping process into 3 distinct stages.
Okay, 3 stages. So
Yeah.
what is that first stage all about?
The first stage is about understanding what's going on.
Hmm.
Right? You need to build that helping relationship and really understand the person's narrative before you can even think about solutions.
Okay, so imagine, someone coming to me, church members coming to me, their pastor, with personal crisis.
Right.
What's the best way to help them kind of open up to me?
Active listening is key here.
Okay.
Putting aside your own thoughts and judgments and just truly focusing on what they're saying.
Yeah.
Being present, both physically and emotionally, reflecting back what you hear to make sure that you're understanding them.
So it's not about, jumping in with advice or, trying to fix it right away.
Exactly. In this first stage, it's about creating a safe space for them to feel heard and understood.
Okay.
Egan calls it helping the client tell their story. And sometimes that's all it takes.
Yeah.
Just having someone listen without judgment can be so powerful.
Yeah, it seems like that would be vital in a pastoral care setting, where trust and confidentiality are, paramount.
Absolutely.
So, listening's the first step, but there's more to this stage, right?
Yeah. Absolutely. As you listen, you can start to gently help the person identify what Egan calls blind spots.
Blind spots?
Yeah, these are things they might not be fully aware of
Okay.
that could be contributing to their challenges.
Okay.
Maybe they're blaming themselves unnecessarily or overlooking their own strengths.
So how do we point that out in a sensitive way, in a church context?
It's about using skillful questioning and reflection.
Okay.
You're not telling them what to think, but you're helping them to see things from a different angle. So for instance, you could say something like, I hear a lot of self-blame in your story. Do you think it's possible you're being too hard on yourself? Or you mentioned feeling alone in this, but it sounds like you have a supportive family. Have you considered reaching out to them?
Okay, so we're helping them to reframe their thinking a little bit
Yes,
and look at it maybe from some different perspectives.
exactly.
And this is still all part of the first stage.
Yeah, and the last step in this initial stage is helping them to choose what they want to focus on. Right, it's about prioritizing and setting realistic expectations.
Okay.
So, if someone's facing multiple challenges, you might work together to identify, the most pressing issue to address first.
So by the end of this first stage, they should have a clearer understanding of what's going on.
Yes.
They can identify maybe some potential blind spots that they have, and then what they actually want to tackle first.
Precisely. It lays the foundation for the next stage, which is all about exploring solutions and setting goals. But we'll save that for the next segment.
Okay, great. I'm really eager to kind of jump into that.
Yeah.
But we covered a lot in this first stage, and just how crucial that initial listening and trust building phase is really sets the tone for everything that follows.
Absolutely. You can't underestimate the power of just being present and listening with empathy, especially in a church setting where people are often seeking, guidance and support during difficult times.
Yeah, so if I'm listening, as a pastor or involved in pastoral care, one of the big things I need to really hone those active listening skills.
Exactly. It's the foundation for everything else.
Okay, so why don't we take a quick break and we'll come back and we'll explore stage 2 of this and how we can use it in our church community.
It's amazing how far just that safe space, where somebody can share their story and be heard.
It really is. But as you said, that's the foundation.
Right.
What happens next? How do we move from understanding what's going on to helping them find solutions?
That's where stage 2 comes in. What solutions make sense for me?
Okay.
This stage is all about empowering the person to take ownership of the challenge and find their own path forward.
Okay, walk me through that.
So the first step here is to help them to explore possibilities for a better future. And this involves tapping into their imagination, challenging any limiting beliefs. that might be holding them back.
So helping them see beyond, their current circumstances
Yes.
and envisioning a future where things are different.
Exactly. Imagine someone coming to you overwhelmed with grief after a loss. They might be stuck in this cycle of negative thoughts, feeling hopeless and lost.
Right.
So in this stage, you would encourage them to envision a future where they found a way to cope with their grief, a future where they can experience joy again, even if it looks different than before.
Okay, but how do we go from, these kind of imagined possibilities to concrete actions?
That's where step 2 of this stage comes, in setting realistic and challenging goals.
Okay.
It's about translating those hopes and dreams into tangible steps they can take.
So can you give me like an example of what that might look like in a pastoral care setting?
Sure, let's say someone is struggling with anxiety and wants to find ways to manage it. Instead of simply saying, I want to feel less anxious,
Right.
you could help them set a specific goal, like, I will commit to practicing mindfulness meditation for 10 minutes every day.
Okay, so something very specific and actionable.
Right.
Yeah.
And the final step in this stage is about finding incentives.
Okay.
What will motivate them to stick with these goals even when it gets tough?
That's a really good point because, it's one thing to set these goals, but to stay committed to them.
Exactly. And this is where understanding their values and motivations becomes crucial.
Okay.
So for some people, the incentive might be the sense of accomplishment that they'll feel when they achieve the goal. For others, it might be the positive impact it will have on their relationships or their spiritual well-being.
So really tapping into what motivates them on a personal level.
Yes, and I imagine in a church setting, faith could play a big role here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, for many people, their faith provides them a sense of purpose and strength.
Right.
It can be very motivating, especially in those times of challenge.
Absolutely. And the pastor can help them connect their goals to their faith, reminding them of their spiritual resources and the support that they have within the community.
Okay, so we've moved from understanding the problem
Yes.
to exploring solutions, setting these goals. What's the final stage in this model?
The final stage is all about action. What do I have to do to get what I need or want? This is where those goals and intentions get translated into concrete steps and a plan for moving forward.
So somebody that's feeling overwhelmed, doesn't really know where to start.
Yeah.
This is a good way to kind of get them on that right path.
It is. And the first step in this stage is to help them to brainstorm possible actions they could take to reach these goals.
Okay.
This could involve researching resources, identifying potential obstacles, or simply coming up with different approaches they could try.
So thinking creatively, exploring all their options.
Precisely. And again, you're not dictating solutions, but acting as a facilitator, guiding them through this process.
That's great. But how do we help them, narrow it down?
Right.
And choose the best course of action if there's so many different ways they could go?
That's step 2 of this stage, choosing best fit strategies.
Okay.
It's about helping them to weigh the pros and cons of each option, considering their individual needs, their resources, and circumstances.
So it's a very personalized and collaborative approach.
It is. And the final step in this stage is helping them to craft a plan.
Okay. This involves breaking down their goals into smaller, more manageable steps, setting deadlines, identifying any support systems they might need along the way.
So taking that big goal
Yes.
and breaking it down into those steps.
Exactly. And in a pastoral care setting, this could involve connecting them with resources within the church community, encouraging them to reach out to their support network, or helping them to create a schedule that incorporates their goals into their daily lives.
So this entire process is really about empowering the individual.
Yes.
Giving them the tools and the support that they need to navigate their challenges and move forward in a positive direction.
You got it. It's about helping them to discover their own strength and resilience. And that's incredibly powerful.
Yeah, so we've covered the 3 stages of this model. Understanding the problem, exploring solutions, taking action.
Yes.
Is there anything else essential for effective counseling, especially in that church context?
There is one more element that's crucial, and that is body language.
Okay.
It's a powerful form of communication.
That can either enhance or undermine your efforts to help someone.
That's interesting. I've never really thought about body language in the context of pastoral care.
Right.
How does that play a role?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could see, our nonverbal cues really impacting how someone perceives us.
Yeah.
Especially when they're feeling vulnerable and
Absolutely. Think about it. You're leaning back with your arms crossed, and someone's pouring their heart out to you. It's going to send a very different message than if you're leaning forward, making eye contact, nodding your head and understanding.
yeah. Are there any specific body language tips that you would recommend for effective counseling?
Egan actually developed an acronym called SOLAR
Okay, I love a good acronym.
to highlight these key elements.
So what does SOLAR stand for?
It stands for face the client squarely, S.
Okay.
Adopt an open posture, O. Lean toward the other at times. L. Maintain good eye contact, E. And try to be relatively relaxed, R.
So creating that sense of presence and attentiveness, even through our nonverbal cues.
Exactly. And, in a pastoral care setting where people are often seeking, comfort and support, these nonverbal signals can be incredibly reassuring.
Yeah, I can see how just something as simple as, sitting facing someone directly, could convey that sense of respect and make them feel heard.
It can. And even, small adjustments like uncrossing your arms or leaning in slightly can make a big difference in creating a sense of connection and trust.
This has been so insightful. I feel like I've learned a lot,
Yeah.
about being an effective helper, especially in, a church community.
That's great to hear. And, these skills are valuable not just for pastors, but for anyone who wants to support others in their personal journeys.
Yeah.
Whether you're a friend, a family member, a church volunteer, these principles can help you to make a real difference in someone's life.
Absolutely. So as we kind of wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
What's that one key takeaway that you'd like our listeners to remember?
I think the most important thing to remember is that effective helping is a skill that can be learned and developed. It's not about having all the answers or being perfect.
Right.
It's about being present, listening with empathy, and guiding people toward their own solutions.
And those solutions might look different for everyone depending on their, own personal situation.
Exactly. There's no one-size-fits-all approach, It's about meeting people where they are and empowering them to find their own path forward.
Well said. This has been a really great deep dive, into effective counseling skills for pastoral care. And I really appreciate you taking the time to share your expertise with us.
It's been my pleasure. And to our listeners, remember that you have the potential to make a positive impact on the lives of those around you. So keep learning, keep practicing, and keep that heart of compassion open.
Until next time, keep diving deep.